Aki was funny, one of the contests he won in Huntington, he wore my trunks. That was a funny memory. He's like, Bob, I forgot my trunks. I'm like, well, I have some here. I'll put pants on. Wear these. So he won. That was kind of cool. The second time he won the OP Pro, I think he won twice. I'm not sure. The second time I said, hey, Aki, I'll give you $10,000 if you win this one. He's like, are you serious? I'm like, I'm dead serious, dude. And he won.
That's Bob Hurley, I'm Jamie Brissick, and this is Soundings, brought to you by the Surfer's Journal. The Journal is a member-supported publication made possible by sponsorship from Costa Sunglasses, FCS, Finisterre, Howler Brothers, Patagonia, Rainbow Sandals, Vans, and Yeti. More like a book than a magazine, the Journal delivers 136 pages of independent storytelling every 8 weeks, covering the people, culture, travel, and art of surfing. To learn more and to subscribe, please visit surfersjournal.com. You're likely familiar with Hurley, the brand, which Bob Hurley founded in 1999, sold to Nike for an undisclosed amount in 2002, and stepped down from as CEO in 2015. But what you may not know is that before Hurley, Bob spearheaded Billabong USA from 1983 to 1998. After Hurley, Bob partnered up with three-time world champion John Florence to launch Florence Marine X in 2020, now known as just Florence. Buttressing all of Bob's business ventures has been his Christian faith, his deep devotion to his family, and his froth for surfing, which, along with the pure joy of riding waves, contains an R&D element. Bob started shaping at age 21, building boards for Infinity, Wave Tools, Lightning Bolt, Hot Stuff, and his own brand, Hurley. He's been sculpting foam ever since. We spoke at Bob's beachfront home in Newport Beach, California. Out front, fun-looking chest-high peaks created both a soundtrack and a distraction. Did Bob get in the water that day? Yes, he did, as he does most every morning. Bob, I should point out, is kind of a 25-year-old grommet trapped in a 69-year-old's body. Okay, so Bob, welcome to the show.
Well, thanks, Jamie.
We're happy to have you.
I'm happy to be here. Woo!
I guess a place to start is, at what point did you find surfing?
I think I was 14 and a half the first time I went surfing. I was introduced to it in 7th grade, so I was probably about 12 then. My baseball coach would take us to the beach, and we would boogie board, I guess, on these little foam esky lid things. Yeah, like broken in half ones and stuff in the shore break at Huntington. Yeah, and then when I was 14 and a half, my friends got told to get a haircut in football. And I'm like, dude, what's up with your guys' hair? What, did you style it? Like, why is it so long and bleached out? They're like, no, we surf. I'm like, surf? Can I go? That's when I got into it at Huntington Beach.
Wow. And so you'd come originally from the East Coast and Texas and Japan, I believe. You traveled around.
Yeah. Yeah, my dad was early in the National Security Agency. So we started off in Canada, St. John's, Newfoundland, easternmost tip of North America. And then we went to Maryland, a spy headquarters, right? I forget the name of that base. Langley? Yeah, okay. There you go.
Yep.
And then we went to Texas, San Antonio. And then we went to, I guess they were spying on North Koreans in Kyushu, in Japan, southern Kyushu. It's right by a town called Fukuoka. So that was quite an experience being there as a young kid.
Wow. And so coming to California, how did you find your way to the West Coast?
Oh, that was a fun adventure, I'll tell you. So my dad passed away in Japan in the military. And then we went back to Rhode Island, and my mom had me, my brother, and my other brother. So 3 little kids. I was 7 and a half. And it was hard for her being in Rhode Island, being a single mom, boys to deal with, young boys, but like to date or have a husband. What do you do? She didn't know. So she said, hey, kids, we're going to move out to California. And we're like, whoa, what are we going to do there? She's like, I don't know. we're just going to find a new life. I'm like, really? You can just do that? So we drove out on Route 66 to California, showed up, no friends, no money, no nothing.
Wow.
It's pretty awesome.
Wow.
Yeah.
You'd mentioned to me that there was an interesting conversation that happened maybe on the way out to the West Coast about.
Oh, yeah. 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 So we went out with my uncle, my dad's brother, that my dad died, his brother, Chuck, drove out with us to California because my mom didn't really drive. I don't even think she had a license. And then they decided that they were going to get married. And so my mom had a ring on, like an engagement ring. And about 2 a.m, he woke me up one day in a motel, maybe in Oklahoma or something, and said, "Hey, Bobby, hey, get up. I got to tell you something." I'm like, "What?" He goes, "I'm going to take off. Your mom and I aren't going to get married. I need you to be the man of the family. You good with that?" Wow. And I was like, "Of course. I got this. Don't worry." And then somehow mom must have drove the rest of the way to California without a license because I didn't drive.
Wow.
And I was the oldest.
Wow. And how old were you? So your dad died when you were 7. And how old were you when this conversation took place?
7.5.
Wow.
Very mature.
Jeez. Man of the house.
Probably more mature then than now, actually.
Jeez. So you land in Huntington Beach.
Well, no. We actually landed in Hawthorne, California, the wonderful South Bay.
Okay.
Yep. And we moved in next door to the fire chief of Hawthorne. And they were really nice people. And then one day, the son, Wade, still one of my best friends for my whole life, said, "Hey, Bobby, we're all signing up for Little League. Do you want to play?" I'm like, "Oh, I don't know how to play." He goes, "Want me to teach you?" And I said, "Sure." So he taught me how to play baseball. I signed up for Little League, and we were off. So we lived in Hawthorne for a couple years. Never had any money. Those wonderful people next door bought us groceries all the time. We really didn't have a penny. And then my mom met a man, a really nice man. They got married and we moved to Orange County. Okay. Westminster we moved to.
Okay.
Yeah, that's how Huntington came in. Long bike ride to the beach. Not too long.
Right.
An hour.
I want to say that I believe I first encountered you long before Hurley, long before Billabong. It was maybe 1980-ish, and you were shaping for Hot Stuff, which was a label from Australia.
Yeah. And
you made a 6-channel thruster, I think it was. That it was a friend's board, and I wrote it, and it was such a good board.
Oh, nice.
And so I knew of you as a shaper before. And so can we talk a little bit about how you found shaping?
Yeah. I like how I found shaping. It feels like it was my destiny. I was not very good at surfing, like, a journeyman, maybe at best, and so I tried pro surfing. That didn't work out. And then I had a job in a surf shop, Windansea in Huntington. And the owner was teaching me how to do things. I used to foil fins. Back in the day, they had fiberglass and wood fins. I ruined about half of them. I was not great at that. I poured resin, I glued blanks together, and I kept begging him to shape because shaping, that's the glamorous part, right?
Yeah.
Dick Brewer, Chris Hawk, Sam Hawk, all those guys. I wanted to be one of those guys. Lightning Bolt, Jerry Lopez. And he kept telling me, "No, Bob, I can't have you shape boards. I can't afford that." I said, "No, I'll shape them for free." He goes, "But then I have to pay to glass them, and they're probably going to be horrible. So why would I do that?" I'm like, "Oh, good point." So I made a deal where I would buy the blank. I think they were $30, and I would shape the board for free, and I would give them to him, and he would get them glassed and sell them at a very low price because they weren't very good. Mm-hmm. That's how I got into shaping. And then all along the way, all kinds of guys taught me neat stuff.
And as you sort of went deeper into it, did the passion grow strongly, right? I mean, it became serious for you. It became your livelihood.
Yes, I love surfboards. I still do to this day. I got a few shape blanks down in the garage that I'm working on, but I love the curves. I love the acceleration, the deceleration of all the curves and the lines, the concaves, the V's. I love other people's ideas. I never had that many of my own. And so what I loved was finding all the best shapers that I loved and using a little bit of each of theirs, sort of making a recipe like a chef. They were coming up with the designs like Alan Byrne, Dick Brewer, Lance Collins, Jerry Lopez, Al Merrick, all these guys. And I would decide to myself, what's the very best thing about this board that they made? And I would use the very best thing and mix it with other very best things. And then we had a Hurley surfboard. It was kind of funny.
Wow. And what were you making mostly? Thrusters?
I made mostly twin fins for a long time. And then that's how I got with the hot stuff thing, because Rabbit loaned me his Tom Curran twin fin to copy his Al Merrick. Because he's like, Rabbit's like, hey, Bob, I'm sort of losing it, man. Me and Mike Ho are the only guys riding single fins. I need help. I love this board. I surf well on this board. Could you make me one? And I go, yeah, sure. Can I borrow it? And he goes, yeah, sure. He goes, but can I get it back right away? Because Tom Curran doesn't know I even have it. I'm like, yeah, how long do I got? He goes, 24 hours good. I'm like, yep, no problem. So he copied that. And then Rabbit had some success on that board. Then he introduced me to Alan Byrne, Paul Hallis, the hot stuff guys. And they're like, hey, you want to be the licensee in America? I'm like, yeah, hello. I didn't even know what that was really. So what I did was I made a lot of those 6 channels, like the one that you rode. That was Alan Byrne's design, not mine. But sometimes the people didn't want a hot stuff logo on it. Sometimes they did. Sometimes they wanted a Hurley logo on it because they had known me from before. And there was all this confusion of like, I didn't realize for every hot stuff logo I put on a board, I should be collecting money for hot stuff. I was promoting the brand. I was very naive, just a kid. And then one year Rabbit comes over, he goes, hey, can we talk about the royalties for hot stuff? And I said, sure, I think it's going to be a pretty good year. He goes, no, but I mean for like last year. Like you made a few boards, right? I said, we probably made like 80 or 90 hot stuff boards. And he's like, well, we need the money for those. I'm like, but I don't have any because I gave all those guys deals because they're team riders. I was promoting the boards. He's like, well, that's not how it's supposed to go. And he was in an awkward position because the owners of Hot Stuff wanted the money. But how's he going to explain something stupid like that I said? That's Rabbit Bartholomew.
Right.
He just looks like a dummy by explaining it. So yeah, it was kind of funny.
And so is that what sort of segued you to Billabong and having the licensee for the USA?
A little bit. So when I was doing the hot stuff, I was really infatuated with Australia.
Yes.
I had seen an early, maybe it was Surfer Magazine article with the Nielsen brothers at Burley Heads, and I was thinking, oh my gosh, glassy barrels, backlit, tropical water. I need to go there. I need to find out. I couldn't afford to go there, but everyone that came to Huntington from Australia, I just latched onto. Like a cheap suit, they couldn't get rid of me. And I was picking their brain always. And Alan Byrne stayed with us in Costa Mesa, who was a Billabong rider, a friend of Gordon Merchant's at the time. Jim Banks stayed with us in Costa Mesa, a Billabong rider. And so I knew about Billabong, and I had a good relationship and reputation with those guys. They knew the owner. And then some friends from Huntington, Chip Rowland and Daryl Dugas, they were going to Australia. And they're like, hey, man, want us to bring back a suitcase full of Billabong shorts? I'm like, that'd be sick. So I got a few $100 together. They brought back a little suitcase full of them. And then I just started selling them. And we were writing to the owner for a long time, Gordon, but he never wrote us back ever, like a couple of years. And I'm like, whatever, I guess we're just going to keep trying to smuggle them in here, And then all of a sudden he stopped by the surf shop in Costa Mesa, Hurley Surfboards, and said, hey, do you want to be licensed? I said, yeah, that's why I wrote you all those letters that you didn't answer. He's like, well, I'm here now. Like, what do you think? I said, yeah, how do I do that? He goes, you come up with $27,000 and buy my 3,000 shorts that I have. I said, yep, I'll do that for sure. And then my wonderful wife, Shelley, said, hey, how are we going to get? I'm like, we'll figure that out. Don't worry about it. So that's how we got the Billabong thing.
Wow. And what year was that?
That was 1982 when he met with me. And by 83, we'd imported the shorts and we actually formed a company. So we raised $45,000, friends and family only. Nobody would invest in it that was like a real investor, just neighbors, friends, family. And then, we started a company. And we employed all the people in Costa Mesa. And it was a separate company from Australia, but we licensed the brand here till 98. It was super fun.
Wow. And that would have been the time that Mark Aki Akalupa was just exploding, basically.
Oh, yeah.
So you would have been you sort of started with Billabong as Aki was on the rise and was the face of Billabong in so many ways.
Yes, I was there at the most exciting time, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So we had a little house in Costa Mesa. It was literally 900 square feet. My wife, Shelley, our 3 kids, Jeff, Ryan, and Rachel. We had 3 bedrooms and 1 bathroom. It was tiny. And all the Australians would stay there, like 20 people at a time.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Aki, Gary Green, Mitch Thorson, Joe Engel, all these guys, Paul Sargent. But yeah, it was a super fun time.
Incredible. It's interesting because I was young at that time, but I was so Australia was so. I mean, there were a lot of great Australian surfers sort of dominating the rankings of the ASP at that time, but it was also just a cultural thing. I think there was a real romance to it. There was the music that was coming out.
Yeah.
There was this weird escapism. I felt like I grew up in suburban Los Angeles, and I felt I kind of wanted to just like, and it was Jack McCoy's surf movies. I just wanted to dive into them and live in them.
Yes.
And I would imagine, and certainly there were, between Billabong here, Quicksilver here, there was a lot of kind of like this Australian influence.
Yeah. Well, you saw the Simpsons episode, right? The famous one?
No.
Oh, you got to look it up.
Okay.
I don't know how, but it makes fun of Americans just falling for everything Australian.
Uh-huh.
Well, that was me.
Right.
I'm into escapism. Like reality can be tough, you know?
Yeah.
I grew up with very tough reality. And yeah, I love the escapism of Australia. I like their sense of humor. I like when they make fun of me. I like the way they surf. I like the waves there. I like the boards. I like everything about it.
Yeah. And so during that period, so how long did the Billabong period go for?
That went for 16 years.
Okay.
Yeah, wonderful. And we grew to be a pretty big company. Like I didn't know anything about business, like as evidenced by the Hot Stuff story. So I learned along the way, you know, and Gordon that started Billabong taught me a lot of stuff, and a lot of people that I work with taught me a lot of stuff. A lot of professionals I work with taught me, and I just love learning. You know, I knew I wasn't the star, which was great. It's great to know you're not the star. You just want to be a player in the game. And so I always brought good people around me.
Yeah, you certainly did, because I competed against the Billabong surfers. Sonny Garcia was a big figure with Billabong.
Yeah, we had a lot of fun. I think your backside off the lip was probably a little better than all the guys, though, on the Billabong team. I know your backside off the lip. I can see it right now.
I'm not sure if you're being funny or not.
I'm not being funny.
Okay, well, I'm
not even funny.
Thank
I'm
you.
just funny looking.
I appreciate that. But yeah, Richie Collins, I think, was on Billabong.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, it was an incredible team.
Yeah, we like to disrupt everything. And, you know, Richie was very disruptive. Sonny was.
Yes.
Sonny was, you know, just outrageous at 15 years old.
Yes.
You know, he didn't, he wanted to kick Tom Carroll's ass. We ran it in a poster in Surfer magazine.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, and everyone's like, ooh, they can't say that. I'm like, yeah, that's what he said. We can put that in a magazine, no problem.
Yep. And that was a real boom period for surfing in general, right? I mean, the industry was, there was a lot of money there.
Yeah, there was, because we had just had the demise of OP, Hang 10, a bunch of others that were great companies, and it just cycled out, you know?
Yeah.
And we were part of the new cycle, which was Quicksilver, Billabong, Gotcha, Maui and Son, eventually Stussy. It was really fun. It was just going straight up, you know?
Yeah. And during the time that you were running Billabong in the USA, were you still shaping boards?
I was, yeah. So we started Billabong USA officially in '83. I was shaping a lot of boards, custom boards, till '97. Mm-hmm. I love shaping surfboards. And honestly, I needed the money when we started Billabong. So for about 8 years, I don't think we paid ourselves. Mm-hmm. There's just never that much money in a clothing company at first till it gets big, you know? And we were able to ride that ride with Aki. You know, it almost felt like we were partners with Aki. Mm-hmm. It was insane. Yeah. And it skyrocketed. It was really, really fun.
Yeah, God, what a figure Aki is and was. He brought, there was a charisma, this charm, and his surfing was just so amazing. Any good memories of that period with Aki?
A million, honestly. One of the contests he won in Huntington, he wore my trunks. That was a funny memory. He's like, Bob, I forgot my trunks. I'm like, well, I have some here. I'll put pants on. Wear these. So he won. That was kind of cool. The second time he won the OP Pro, I think he won twice, I'm not sure. The second time I said, hey, Aki, I'll give you $10,000 if you win this one. He's like, are you serious? I'm like, I'm dead serious, dude. And he won.
Wow.
Got to pay him. That was super fun. So many things were fun about Aki. And then along came Jack McCoy with Aki, and we just laughed our butts off a lot.
Yeah.
And Aki was funny, you know, staying at my house in Costa Mesa. He'd wake up at 1 a.m. He didn't have a car. He was 16. And he'd be like, hey, Bob, can you take me to the pier? I want to go surfing. I'm like, it's 1 a.m, Aki. He goes, yeah, nobody's going to be out, right? I'm like, nope.
Wow.
And he just loved the sandbar on the north side of Huntington Pier.
And it's lit up. The lights are on. Yeah. Incredible.
It was really fun.
Wow. Okay. And then, so Billabong for those years. And then can we talk a little bit about how you came to Hurley?
Yes. Well, they say all good things must come to an end. I'm not sure if that's true, but the Billabong thing was great. And then near the end, we gave it back in 98, I believe, or 99. Yeah, 98 it was. And, what really happened, if you take a big step back, it was just creative differences with the founder.
Okay.
My good friend, the founder, Gordon. And, you know, we were like brothers for a long time.
Yep.
And I thought it was our company.
Yep.
The vision in the US became a little different than the vision in Australia. In the US, we embraced music, snowboarding, skateboarding, because that was our life. You know, in Australia, they wanted only a surfer knows the feeling. And so there was a little friction there, but really it was just a creative difference. And I had a personal illness at the time, and I had to evaluate whether I should keep going forward with Billabong, butting heads with a creative difference, as bands often do, you know, amongst friends, or whether I should just give it back. So made the decision without deciding to do Hurley to just give it back. That was just like 100%. We're cutting the ties. We're done.
Gotcha.
Yeah, because, yeah.
And before we dive into the Hurley stuff, can we talk about your personal illness?
Yeah. Yep. I had kidney cancer in 97. I treasure that experience. I wouldn't wish it on anybody, but, you know, you're forced to, when you have something that serious, and I have only one kidney now, I had it taken out. But at the time, there was no internet. And if you look in the medical journal, it says, often metastasizes quickly to brain, lungs, and bone. And I'm like, wow, I'm 43 years old. That's interesting. I have kids. I have a business. Huh. I wonder how long I'll be on earth for. Jeez. Oh, wait, I don't have a grandkid yet. Hey, God, could I have one grandkid before I go to heaven? Now we have 11. After that, we gave back Billabong. We started Hurley, and we partnered with Nike, and then that was fun. And then that got sold, and now we're part of Florence. So my only point there is that doesn't turn out like that for everybody, but you never know what's going to happen. When things seem really dark, really good things can still happen.
Yeah, well, it's interesting. My mother's a cancer survivor, and it seems that provided you do survive, and many don't, sadly.
Many don't, yes.
But if you do survive, it so often does become this thing where it's actually this, I hesitate to say gift, but you learn from it in such a way that you kind of seize the day.
Yes. Well, I would say to me it was a gift, and it's certainly not. It can be a curse to many people.
Yeah.
But just all the experiences, the love, the evaluation of reality. You know, what am I trying to do here?
Yeah.
Why do I exist? All those things.
Yeah.
Everyone's trying to figure out why they're on Earth, right?
Yes.
That helped me figure it out more, and it's a daily pursuit. But
yeah, that
really helped a lot.
Yeah. Hurley.
Yes.
Let's talk about the formation of the company and that how that all came about.
Yeah. Well, you know, after giving Billabong back, which was 150 employees of mine in Costa Mesa, and coworkers, I should say, and telling them, hey, guess what? We just gave Billabong back. And they're like, okay, what are we supposed to do for jobs? And I'm like, you know what? We'll start another brand. We'll let you know the name pretty soon, and it's going to be fine, and you're going to keep your jobs. And so we just had this idea. The brand wasn't going to be called Hurley. I didn't like that name. I was disavowing my surf roots, which was a bad idea. And then one of our partners, our designer, Leanne, her husband, Preston Murray, said, hey, I heard you're not going to call the brand Hurley. I'm like, yep, that's right, because it's not about me. It's about the consumers and the modern generation and all our partners. It's not about me. And he goes, you got to call it Hurley. I'm like, are you serious? So we called it Hurley. And the basic idea was we didn't want to market to people. We wanted to include everyone as if they were an owner, all the consumers. And it was Y2K was something that was going to put the world out of business. Everyone thought the computers were going to take over.
I remember.
Yeah. So the world was very upset. The youth generation was very upset. They wanted something different. And we were able to tap into that at the turn of a millennium, which is very unlikely to ever happen again in my lifetime, but very rare situation. So what we decided to do, since it wouldn't be fair to try to copy Billabong, or nobody needed another Billabong, there already was a good Billabong. You know, we were doing great business. We had to be totally different. And the way we were totally different is we just talked to our friends and did exactly what they said. So our friends were in Blink 182, the Black Eyed Peas, the 10-year-old kid in the alley, the team writers. We only did what they said. We didn't talk to retailers. We didn't talk to salespeople. We didn't read trend reports. We just went purely from our gut and our instinct, truthfully pursuing partnership with this generation. It was really fun.
No, and I, as a witness to it all, I saw that, and it seemed like it was just a big extended family. And so many of your team riders, or whatever you'd call them, the ambassadors,
Yep.
I was close with and knew for many years. And there was just a real, there seemed like a real heart and soul connection with everyone.
Yeah, it really was, because we were in a very unique position. You know, I mean, we had a company. We gave it back. Therefore, we had enough cash to fund our company, and we were able to not have to anniversary sales. Do you know what anniversarying sales is?
I don't think I do.
Yeah, so apparel companies have this problem. As they get bigger, if you did $1 million last August, you better do $1.5 million this August.
I see.
We didn't care. Yeah. We didn't have to. We were starting at zero, and we thought we might do 13 million the first year in business, and that would allow us to keep all our employees. We actually did 28 million. And then the next year we did 54 million. And the next year we did 75 million. So we didn't have to lay off one person. And we had the luxury of not being attached to a past. It was really unique.
Interesting you say not being attached to a past. In what was, you call it a luxury, what was it about that? Did it allow you to sort of reinvent yourself as you went, or invent yourself as you went?
Yeah, I think reinvent for sure, because all of us there had a past. You know, the people I worked with, great designers, great marketing people, great partners in production. We all have a past, but we were able to reinvent ourselves to formulate a business in a new way that we couldn't have with an older legacy, because, you know, you just get this inertia as you get bigger and you have to keep doing things the same way, even if you don't want to. So not having to sell anything is such a luxury when you're trying to sell something.
Yes.
You don't have to.
Yeah.
You only make what you love, what you're passionate about, you know, and it shocks some people, which, you know, knowing what I know now is the best way to start a company. You got to shock people. Who needs more of the same?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We didn't know that. We weren't that smart. We were just doing what we loved.
And so you hit the $74 million mark, and then where did it go from there?
Yeah. Well, I needed cash, because when you have an apparel company, the better you do, the more debt you have to incur to fund it, because it's like an 18-month product cycle, right? You develop it, you order it, it comes in, and then you might get paid in 90 days if you're lucky after you ship it. It's a long cycle of cash. So growing that fast, we ran out of the money that we had saved by giving Billabong back, and I was having to start to borrow money again. For 20 years at Billabong, or, you know, just under 20, I always owed a bank between 10 and $20 million that I never had. And that was pretty scary, but it was part of the deal. When we started Hurley, I didn't know any money. And then as we grew, I had a plan to get us to $1 billion. And I met with my team and I said, you guys are smart. Here's what I think we could do over the next 10 years. And I think it's $1 billion. And it's pretty simple. It was a one-pager, you know. Here's how we would do it. You read everything and you're like, yep, that's all going to happen. And then my CFO came in and saw me. He's like, hey, did you realize that you're going to have to borrow a lot of money to do this? I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, well, just my rough math, you're going to need to borrow or have an investor of like $150 million if you want to do this. I'm like, well, certainly I can't even borrow it. And I don't want an investor like that. And so I had to go back to the drawing board, and he gave me pause to think over the weekend. And then my little pea brain, I decided, what brands do I really like? I really like Nike. I really like Gucci. I really like Louis Vuitton. I really like Levi's. And the reason I really liked them is they stood for something, and they looked the same everywhere in the whole world. So I ridiculously thought I could get one of those brands as a partner. I couldn't. They all said no. And then finally a guy from Nike called me up, Tom Clark. He'd been not working for a year. He ran Nike for 10 years. And he's like, hey, Bob, Tom Clark here. I'm like, hey, Tom, what's up? Nice to meet you. And he goes, hey, I think I'd like to come down and say hi. I'm like, for what? You guys already don't want to do business with us. And he said, I just want to come down and meet you. Just relax, dude. And we were fast friends. And then so Nike became our partner. We had cold called them. And it was really fun. And we had cold called them for a funny reason that I only found out 6 years after we partnered with them. I had a guy come by my office one day from Nike. His name was Roger Wyatt. And Roger said, hey, I'd like to talk to you about licensing Nike board shorts. And I said, license Nike board shorts? We're best in class in board shorts. You should license our name and pay me. I'm not going to pay you. And it was kind of funny, but I was polite, and he was great, and it was fun. I didn't realize till after we made the Nike deal that that's the first Nike person I ever met that came by our office.
I see.
One day I was moving desks while he was working with us. He never told me this, reminded me or anything. And I found this business card in my desk. You know how when you're cleaning out your desk, you just find all this old junk. And it says, Roger Wyatt, head of apparel, Nike Inc. And I'm like, why do I have this card? Wait a minute. Wait, was that guy that came by? And I walked over, I'm like, hey, Roger, were you the guy that came by and tried to get, he goes, yeah. I had been working with him for a couple of years and he never mentioned it.
Wow.
In fact, he's English. I was telling people for probably 2 years that he was from South Africa. He never corrected me. One of those guys. I wish I had that kind of discipline.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So the relationship with Nike, I guess, depending on, through one lens, that would be a kind of high water mark in the sense of working with this massively successful company.
Yep.
And then there's a more kind of dyed-in-the-wool, puritanical surf mindset that would be like you're dealing with corporate America now, and this will be your demise. How did it go with Nike?
It went all different ways. It went amazing in so many ways. For example, my goal was always to elevate surfing and elevate the athletes and the innovative product. I didn't really like the idea of like a cottage industry that's protective and taking care of ourselves, even though we're not doing the best job in the world. I never liked that union mentality kind of thing. I don't all stick together. I'm not one of the guys. I like more independence. So I wanted to be with the best sports brand in the world. It happened. I was like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. And then, fast forward on June 21st, 2015, John Florence was on the cover of Nike.com. If you Google it, it says Nike presents Hurley with John Florence in a barrel. I'm like, my job's done. Great. I was thinking of retiring right then, but then there was too much more fun to have. And then as Nike got bigger, Nike quadrupled in size since we made the deal with Nike, and so did Hurley. But Hurley's quadrupling. We were 300 million. Nike was 40 billion. After about 25 billion, they brought in a bunch of outside executives that weren't like the original Nike people. Let's just say that.
Yeah.
And so it became a different world of bureaucracy and micromanagement and that kind of stuff. And then it wasn't that fun. Yeah. But it all had to be like that. And I always encouraged Nike to sell Hurley. After about 2015, I had numerous meetings up there. You guys should just sell us. I love everybody, but yeah, we're too small for you now. It's not working.
Right.
Yeah.
And the relationship with John Florence obviously has been a big one. Can we talk about sort of Hurley evolving into Florence Marine?
Yeah, it was super fun.
Or we should start with, how did it end with Hurley? And at what point did Hurley stop and Florence Marine begin?
Yeah. So in 2019, Nike finally sold Hurley to a different kind of people, not a sports company, not a licensing company. It's kind of like a chop shop. You sell You sell parts, and nothing wrong with that if that's what you want to do. That didn't turn out great for all the athletes. And we're neighbors with John Florence in Hawaii. He's 11 doors down from us. And he would come over occasionally. We would be talking about, he's saying, what should I do? I was giving him probably pretty bad advice. He knew what he wanted to do. And what he wanted to do was walk away from the biggest sports marketing contract in history of surfing. And he wanted to start something new, but he never said that to me. Mm-hmm. I kept giving him just pretty bad advice. Anyways, through a bunch of conversations, we decided, me and my sons and a couple other people, we decided, well, we should at least help John. If he wants to leave Hurley, which is probably a good idea, we should help him. And so we made spreadsheets of here's the companies that want to sponsor you. You already have the offers. Here's how long you'll probably last there. Here's how long they'll probably stay in business. Here's how long before they'll probably sell or go bankrupt. All these things, right? And so my boys called me up one day. They're like, hey, Dad, are you going to be in Hawaii for a little bit? I'm like, yeah. Why? Oh, we want to come over there next week and we want to talk to John. We want to help him out with that stuff we were talking about. I'm like, oh, cool. And I didn't think they would invite me to the meeting even. They're like, hey, can you come to the meeting? I'm like, of course. So we went to John's house and I sat right next to him on the couch. I know John pretty well by this time. And I'm like, this is going to be interesting. And we're walking through, okay, here's this brand, all the brands, every single company wanted to sponsor him. And we're like, that's a pretty good deal. Oh, this is a pretty good deal. This is a pretty good deal. But what we always came back to when we were thinking in our own minds was, but then there's a sponsored athlete that has to do photo shoots and stuff. It's not really the athlete. And we had plenty of experience at Nike with the Jordan model, and we helped Jordan with a bunch of things a few times. And so we know what that's like. So my boys were thinking, not me, my boys were thinking, maybe he should just start his own thing. And they're like, hey, Dad, just a heads up in the meeting. Once we go through all the brands, we're going to go to a slide right after that says Florence. Watch his face, see what his reaction is. I'm like, okay, because I'll be able to tell whether he likes that or not. And so Ryan's going through it, and he finishes up, and he goes, okay, on to the next slide. And he says, John, so here's the deal. You're pretty well off now. If you do any of these deals, you're going to be rich. They're probably going to last some up to 5 years maybe, but probably not longer than that. Your expiry date will hit. And you can do those. And we will joyfully help you negotiate, facilitate. Anything we can do, we will help you. We have no agenda here. You can either do that, or if you'd like to make a difference, and then Ryan presses a button, and then there's a picture of John on his sailboat that says Florence. And I saw John's face light up immediately. He goes, if you want to make a difference in the world, in the surf world, in the environment, whatever, you can do this. Now, it's a harder path. You won't have as much money right away, but in the long run, your family and our family will do things together that will change the world, or try to anyways. And then John's like, yeah, I kind of like it. Yeah, I think, and I'm thinking, oh gosh, he's jumping out of his pants right now. He so wants to do this. He goes, but I have a question for you guys. And he looks around at us all. He goes, is it super weird having your name on your clothes? And we just started cracking up. We're like, you're asking the wrong people, dude. You just get used to it. And so that's how Florence started, just like that. And so he walked away from Hurley, and he just started this thing. So our family and his family work on it together right over there in Newport where you've been.
So great. And so leading up to that, I guess when you had Hurley and John was one of your sponsored surfers, and he would have been quite young at this time, right?
Yes.
Clearly a relationship built that would facilitate the partnership that exists today.
Yeah.
How would you describe your relationship with John and the family, I suppose?
Yeah, it's pretty interesting because when John first came on, it was 2013, quite a while ago. John was, 19, I think. Everyone sought after him. And in the end, I think the reason he chose Hurley was because of Pat O'Connell and Rabbit Bartholomew. Mm-hmm. Rabbit talked to him a lot, who was a Hurley guy at the time. And Pat was the star of Endless Summer too, as you might know.
Yes.
And John idolized him from that. Like, when I grow up, I want to be like that guy. And so those two guys working with John's agent, Terry at the time, they made a deal. Mm-hmm. I was semi-involved, but not really. And it was very cool. And then we gained trust and we had a good relationship. And then when we came time to renew him, I can't remember what year that was, we were offering him a lot of money, like really a lot. In Nike world, still a lot.
Yeah.
So Roger, our guy that I mentioned earlier, said, hey, Bob, if you're going to push this over the edge, I need 2 paragraphs from you to all the execs at Nike, including the CEO, that say the reason to sponsor John Florence, because this is an awful lot of money and this doesn't go lightly through Nike. Everyone will notice this. This is more than most tennis players get there, the famous ones.
Right.
And I'm like, okay. And Evan Slater helped me a lot with it. Pat helped me. Jeff helped me. And we finally decided that in a very short couple paragraphs, very short ones, that John captured the mind space of a generation for the next 10 years. Not he's the best guy, he's going to win the just captured the mind space, you know? And it was so cool because I sent it to all those guys I mentioned. And literally, they were in China, literally within an hour, the president of Nike, Charlie Denson, texts back and he goes, reply all, I say we do whatever Bob says. It was so sick.
Wow, that's so cool. And you just worded it differently than I have, but I think you nailed it. And what is it about John? I mean, there's such integrity there, I think.
Yes.
And he's represented that always. And I think that's why he's so beloved.
Yes.
I don't know. He's in it for all the right reasons. He seems so often there's a kind of curse of being a surf star where you get addicted to the fame and the attention and that becomes the thing. He doesn't seem like that at all.
Yeah.
He's a unique one in the surf world, I guess, or in the pro sports in general.
Yeah, I think John's incredibly unique. And what is it? I don't know. Some people say it's like an X factor or something. I attribute it to more like magic. He has personal magic and athletic magic, and the two don't often combine in many people.
Yeah.
But I'm a person that's always drawn to the magic of a Craig Stesick and his writing and his imagery and his airbrushing, or a Jamie Brisick and his surfing and his journalism. But Nike for their magic, I'm drawn to magic. And whether it's Rob Machado, who was so fun to work with for so many years, I, being not a person of magic, have to be around people like that. And so I latched myself onto John, you know. And the first couple of years, it was pretty awkward because I'd actually get nervous when he'd walk in the room. I'm like, here's a 20-year-old kid I'm getting nervous around. This is pretty weird.
Yeah.
But now, you know, so many years later, we just settled into some sort of a rhythm. But, you know, arguably, he has proved that he's the best surfer in the world because he was world champ last year. But he's taking this year to live on the water and try to become a better surfer and find new surf spots.
Yeah.
I think that's weird. That's not normal. Yeah. I could see him like wanting to disappear like Wayne Lynch did. I think that's cool. And that's a certain amount of magic, but he has a dual purpose of becoming better all the time.
Yes. And
creating magic and having personal time with family and friends. So I don't know if I've ever met anyone exactly like him. I'm sure they're out there.
Yeah.
Rob Machado's a lot like him, honestly.
Yeah.
But he's a different type of animal and a fun one to work with. You know, he'll forego big money for doing the right thing for the longer term.
For sure.
And so working with the family, like we just brought Nathan on board, which would have been nice if it happened at the start, but it finally happened. And those two together are unbelievable.
Yeah.
They really are. And then Ivan came on board. And so we have these quarterly meetings where their family's involved with our family, and it's updates and scorecards and all that, you know, real business stuff. But this last one was funny because John, Nathan, and Ivan were in it. It was at my house in Hawaii, and they're all sitting there, and they're all giggly and acting weird. I'm like, what's so funny, you guys? And then John goes, did you guys do your assignment, to Ivan and Nathan? And they're like, yeah, we did. Did you? And he goes, not exactly. They're like, it was your assignment, John. So they each had to get up, stand up in front of us and tell their dream for the next year and their dream of the company longer term and how they see their role. Well, all of a sudden, the quietest one, in my opinion, is Ivan. He goes, let me go first. He stands up, he takes full command of the room. He's bossing us around. He's like looking at John. He's like, you know, pointing fingers and saying this and saying that. And I'm like, holy cow. that's impressive. I got goosebumps when he was doing it. And then Nathan goes, I'll go next. And so Nathan did it. And then John he did great too. He's really, really bright. And then John got all sheepish and he's like, wait, I'm supposed to go after those two? We're like, yeah, it was your idea, dude. And he got up there and he was all nervous and squirmy, in front of his brothers. So the brother dynamic is quite interesting. And they're very competitive and they live in close proximity and they hang out every day and they push each other athletically, but even more than athletically or equal to athletically, mentally, they push each other a lot about what's possible in life,
Right. Yep.
The idea of like, what's our full potential?
Yeah.
Which I find intriguing with anyone, what is your full potential?
Yes.
You're happy with that? I'm never happy with the status quo.
Yeah. Incredible. So on the day-to-day now with Florence Marine, what is your role? What is it like for you?
That's a good question. My role, well, sometimes I get to talk to Craig Stesick and we brainstorm on silly things like, hey, can we get John's Waimea board to the, Surfing Heritage Museum? I can help with stuff like that because I'm in Hawaii a lot. I talk to his shaper and his community a lot over in Hawaii, the lifeguards, and I'm sort of an ambassador of sorts. I don't work on the business day to day, but I try to imagine things for the business and I try to pass them on appropriately when I can. And sometimes I pass them on inappropriately, which doesn't turn out that great. It makes me feel like a schmuck. But I just want the best for everybody, especially for John's family. I think the whole goal with starting that business, our family's been very blessed and very lucky. We've done a bunch of neat things. And then I want when John's 45 and his brothers are not at the top of their performance anymore, maybe, I want them to have a company that they can be proud of that is actually contributing to Earth instead of taking.
Yeah.
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 That would be our family's goal for their family.
That's beautiful. But your family's been, can we talk about family? I mean, family's been so important in your entire family, everyone works together on Florence Marine.
Yes. Yeah? Correct. Yeah. My son Jeff's the CEO. Son Ryan is the creative director. Son Chance is the chief operating officer. Son-in-law. And and in the past at Billabong, my daughter was a major player in production there. She was great. Jeff, when he was a little guy, he was 11 years old. He helped me edit the videos. We made 5 of them. They're pretty bad compared to Jack McCoy's. That's why we brought Jack on. But, Surf in the Summer, Filthy Habits, Pump, In the Wind. There's one other I can't even remember. But Jeff would sit there in our kitchen with the editing machine, old school, turning the knobs. I'd be like, what do you think, Jeff? Yeah, I like this. I'm like, good, we're doing it then. It was a lot of fun.
Great. How great. Well, the surf industry has changed so much. And thinking about that period of Billabong and Hurley, there were these sort of juggernauts in the industry that were so big. But now it seems kind of more fragmented, I suppose.
Yeah.
It feels really differently. There's not the ASR that kind of ties everything together as there once was.
Correct.
Why is it that way, do you think? What defines the industry today compared to those booming years?
Yeah. There's a lot of things. I think, digital is one. I mean, there's this sort of digital isolation that happens with all humans where you can just sit on your phone and scroll all day and you don't have to communicate with people. You don't have to collaborate. You can find everything you want. You might not even want to meet anybody. Well, back in those days, everybody got together at ASR to meet everybody, and electricity would happen and brainstorming and all this stuff. Hey guys, with that snowboard brand, would you consider doing a collaboration with us? Hey, team writers, do you want to do this with those guys? Hey, movie maker guy, do you want to come help us with this? That would happen, but I wouldn't say it's not necessary anymore, but people can get by without it for sure. And the whole industry has just changed. What was will never be that like that again.
Yeah.
And we should enjoy it for what it was. It was sort of a golden era, but I'm more interested in, I meet with a lot of young guys that are starting companies. I'm more interested in encouraging them to start their own golden era. Even though the big brands have all failed miserably and there's a new licensing model that it's a harvesting model, which is fine. Everybody wants to make money. I get it. But I like builders, and so a lot of these new kids are building companies now. And they'll take some kind of form and they'll form some kind of industry organically that who knows what it'll be like. Distribution's even changed a lot. Like, who do you sell to?
Sure. Yeah. No, and it's paralleled also in the surfers. I mean, thinking about Nathan Florence is a great example where he's less prominent in contests, but we all love what he posts on, with his kind of digital content, which is made by he and his wife, as I understand.
Yeah. He's a very busy boy, and he heckles John for that gravy train of a job he had on tour, just showing up. And John's like, dude, you have no idea what it's like. You have no idea how hard it is to win a world title. And Nathan's like, yeah, try coming with me on a trip. So they went to Scotland and Nathan was heckling him. Yeah, this is real work, John.
Yeah, it's interesting. And what, when you think back on all these kind of various chapters, what does it all mean, Bob? As broad of a question as that is, but I mean, what have you learned or taken away from it all?
Yeah, I think that's the most important question, and I'm still trying to learn the answer to that. But I'm 69 years old now. I started shaping when I was 18. That's quite a while.
Yeah.
And I always wonder what it all means. What did we do? Did it actually happen? Am I making it all up? Because it seems kind of fake at times. But I just revert to this cartoon I used to watch when I was in my late teens. I'm a weirdo. But it was Mr. Wizard. And Mr. Wizard always said, be like you is, not like you not. Because people like this is the happiest lot. And so I feel like we're all made with some special talents. I know you two guys have a bunch of special talents and you're maximizing them, but just trying to do what you're put on earth for, I think is a big thing. And I think the meaning of your career could possibly be tied to, are you doing what you were meant to do? And are you doing it as good as you can? And whether that's like being a trash man in Paris or a guy that washes windows, or just maybe do it the best you can if that's what you're supposed to be doing. And then you're so happy, I think.
Yes. No, that's really, really beautiful. I think dreaming big too, right? I mean, I admire you because you built something so big, and did you always, not always, but when you were starting out, did you imagine that it would become what it has become, or have you been surprised by your life?
I don't really know how to answer that except to sort of digress a little.
Okay.
Yeah. So when I was young, remember I said we were poor?
Yeah.
I really wanted brands. I really wanted a pair of Converse. And one time my mom bought these fake Converse at Kmart. She's like, Bobby, I bought you some Converse. I was 8 years old. I'm like, those aren't Converse. I'm not wearing those. And my 27-year-old mom broke down in tears. She's like, I'm doing the best I can, That made an impact on me. Mm-hmm. So I always wanted bigger, better, more. I wanted to play in a global stage, whether it's business or surfing. I couldn't do it by my surfing, so I did it other ways in surfing. I wanted to be part of Nike so we could be part of a big global brand that could do good things, not bad things. Mm-hmm. And so I never wanted small. And so I had this weird, probably small man's complex to try to get to the top because I wasn't great at anything. Mm-hmm. And I really, really wanted that. So in one way, I'm very surprised that I feel like it turned out beyond my expectations. In another way, I'm like super cocky guy going, yeah, I knew we could do that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I do feel like it was destiny, and that's why I was put on earth. So I'm not saying everyone could just like dream big and try to make stuff happen. I was very lucky.
Yep.
Very, very lucky.
Is bigger, better, more the thing? At this stage of your life, do you look at that as like that is the thing that if you were looking at if you were giving a keynote speech at a college, let's say, would you be saying that's what you want to go for, or would you be saying maybe I already know the answer to this because you were talking earlier about John John and kind of the values there, but what is the most, if you were talking to someone younger that were kind of pursuing their dreams, be it starting a company or being a professional surfer, what are the values that are most important?
See, that's a tough one for me because I've been able to do things that a lot of people would want to do, including my young self. Mm-hmm. And it's easy once you do them to say, oh, it's not that big a deal.
Yeah.
It's like people saying money's no big deal. Well, you can say that because you're rich. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I would encourage people to just really try to find out why they were put on earth, what their talent is, and just go 100% for it.
Yeah.
And whether that's big or small. But frankly, when I meet with people that are starting companies, I always say, do your very best to keep it small and wonderful. Get the smallest storefront you can find, make it amazing, and that will turn into big. But I think if you pursue big or grandiose, I don't really think that works, despite my history. I don't know, that probably sounds confused because I'm always confused every day.
Yeah, confused every day, though. I think it's common. It seems confusion is a natural thing.
Yeah, well, you live in an area where there's many wealthy people, and so do I. And I think it's fair to say, for my peer group, the most wealthiest people I know are not necessarily the happiest.
Absolutely.
Not very far from it, right?
Yeah.
And I find that somebody that really makes things is very happy, usually.
Yes.
Whether you're an airbrusher or whatever. If you're making something and you're stoked on what you're making and you're trying to make it as good as you can, it seems like you're pretty happy that way.
I so agree. In many ways, surfing is kind of a great sort of foundation for all that. And I wanted to ask you, where does surfing sit in your life today?
I try to surf every day, at least once. And I try to not expect too much of myself because I listen to all these self-help podcasts. I get down on myself pretty hard because, I'm not a kid. And I don't pull into closeout barrels like I used to because it hurts too bad. So I try to surf every day. I absolutely love it. I treasure it. I would say my surfing experience is going more to the social. I don't really talk in the water that much. I'm not saying that. I'm not out there flapping, but the drive to the beach, the parking in the parking lot, seeing the people on the way that are, in my case, Ala Moana, where I go a lot, the people in the boats, the people on the beach barbecuing, the tourists getting lessons, seeing and high-fiving all those people, and then the long paddle out amongst the beginners, and then sitting with the cool guys in the lineup, and then paddling in. That's like my dream surfing experience.
Yeah.
The other day, I surfed with my granddaughter at Eokai Beach Park. There was 10 people out. It was the Chandler brothers, Legend and Manu something, Coco Ho, Zoe McDougal, not John Florence, Ivan Florence, his mom Alex, my friend Jake Dobby, and a few others, Peter King. And I'm like, this is the best surf session I've had in years. You know how many waves I rode? A half. I caught a 1 foot closeout going in.
Yeah.
I had the time of my life.
Yeah.
Weather was beautiful. The people were kind. Everyone was ripping. I enjoyed it.
Nice.
I have to do that every day.
Very nice. Thank you so much, Bob.
You're welcome. My pleasure.
Soundings is brought to you by the Surfer's Journal and is produced by me, Jamie Brissick, and Jonathan Shifflett. You can find it on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. Our theme song is Give Me a Wave by Asuka Matsumiya and Paz Lenchantin. The Surfer's Journal is a reader-supported publication made possible by sponsorship from Costa Sunglasses, FCS, Finisterre, Howler Brothers, Patagonia, Rainbow Sandals, Vans, and Yeti. The journal is published bi-monthly. If you haven't done so yet, I encourage you to visit surfersjournal.com and subscribe. Thank you for listening to Soundings, and until next time.